Ah, another year, another dollar. Well, at least we still have each other, right? Well, at least it was a great year for games, yes? I think we can all agree on that. It seems like everyone and their mom seem to think so, from the most optimistic to the most analytical to those who dwell in the depths of the most obscure indie spaces.
2023! This may be one of the best years in gaming ever.
And it was a really good year for gaming.
2023 did not suck, for video games at least. Nor was it mid, somewhat below average, or even slightly above par. In fact, it wasn't good, it wasn't great, it wasn't even excellent. It was one of the best years in gaming history, and easily the best of the last decade.
And you know what? For once, I concur. 2023 was one of the best years in gaming in a long time. We got the best one-on-one fighting game to come out in 12 years. We got a new From Software game, which is always an earth-shattering thing in the realm of games. And it also came out surprisingly quick after the holy shit phenomenon that was Elden Ring. It was also surprising that this was not a Soulsborne game. But those who are into Souls-like games still got the Lies of P, which has had the Dark Souls crowd oh-boying and oh-wowing in 2023. There was a new Zelda game, a new Spider-Man title, remakes for beloved classics like Dead Space and Resident Evil 4, and the AAA mainstream world got a very good taste of a proper player-centric RPG experience with Baldur's Gate 3, something that they don't ever get. Meanwhile, in the endless sea of shit that is the indie world, where the occasional unsung masterpiece rises well above its shady, unfinished, and often straight-out crappy peers to grab the attention of even Norman Normicus himself, a guy who watches the Game of the Year award and chooses his games almost exclusively from the AAA shelf, an impressive array of titles has taken our tables by storm in numbers that are completely unusual for the market. We got Mao Kenshi, an impressive strategy game with card-based combat mechanics and RPG elements that feels like Gloomhaven for casual players. We got War Tales, a sandbox RPG that is already being mentioned as a top referrer for the subgenre, which is quite impressive because these titles take their sweet little time to earn their place given the nature of the genre. This year was so busy with great titles that the world even glossed over Darkest Dungeon 2. And after playing it for a few dozen hours, I went from being in the camp of those who say it's not as good as the first one, to the camp of those who say it's definitely one of the best games in the ballpark. This is what this camp looks like though. And just as we approached the final stretch of the year, in rode two of the best RPGs that have come out in years. Colony Ship finally made it out of the early access hellhole to wow us with its immersive narrative and its meaningful build-based gameplay. And Moonring literally came out of nowhere to bring back the old, true OG Ultima experience, but it made it feel brand new, and it was free to play. I had already decided to declare this as one of the best years in the history of gaming when a last-minute title came out and said, "Do you have room for one more there?" And it turned out to be the most fun I had with a game this year. Well, it lasted, which wasn't long. And that's before we even talk about expansion packs. Man, I think this has been the best year, well, ever for expansion packs. This year we've had Heavy Duty for Underrail, Pirates of Balerion for War Tales, Sunfire and Moonshadow for Vagras, and of course, the one everyone and their mom are talking about, Phantom Liberty for Cyberpunk 2077. But as tradition dictates in Ye Olde Entertainment, I've also taken the time to catch up on titles that had been waiting in line in the backlog for years, and to revisit some all-time favorites like Fallout and Deus Ex. And my, this has been a year for the old and the new, and we are here to celebrate all of them. So, welcome to Ye Olde Entertainment's Game of the Year Award. This format was suggested by subscriber Neomatrice. I hope I finally said it right after these many years. He said something along the lines of, "Why don't you grab all the games that you have played and reviewed this year and to make an award ceremony using your system of categories?" So let's do just that once again. For this list, we take into account every game that we have played and covered here on the channel. Many of them came out in the year 2023, but many came out a long time ago. Some of them even came out before you were born. So just so that you know what you're dealing with, these are the games that we played and covered in the year 2023. Hades, Inscription, Wilder Myth, King Arthur, A Knight's Tale, Lost Eidolons, Monster Train, Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, Fallout, Fallout 2, Mao Kenshi, Deliverance and Reign, Baldur's Gate 3, Everspace 2, Deus Ex, Dark Envoy, Moonring, War Tales, Star Traders Frontiers, Vagrus The Riven Realms, Colony Ship, Death Road's Tournament. And though we have different category systems in ye old entertainment, we are going to use our CRPG category system because it is the most comprehensive. For those of you who are new around these parts, these are the categories: character creation and character progression, gameplay, story and lore, companions lore-wise, companions gameplay-wise, secondary mechanics and user experience, sound effects and mix, music, voice acting, graphics, performance and stability. This time we got a couple of new categories for you. The Game of the Year that actually came out this year, and the big one, of course, Game of the Year. So because I don't have any teaser trailers to get you salivating about games that you are going to hate when they get released, I am going to get right to it. Character creation and character progression. You know this channel's mantra by now, I'm sure, but for those of you who don't, repeat after me, boys and girls. A character progression system is only as good as the freedom it gives the player to experience the game in his or her own terms. And out of the titles we played this year, these are the nominees for character creation and character progression. Deus Ex, the mind-blowing sandbox experience that inspired games like Hitman and Half-Life 2, still trouncers most of them with its character progression system. A seamless, clever system that adds almost endless replay value to an already delightfully player-centered experience. Fallout and Fallout 2.
This is where it all started. It's all thanks to this.
Not exactly, kid, but this is the before and after. It is the prime example of a character creation and progression system that puts the player squarely in the driver's seat of the experience. It is the main pillar of the game's mind-blowing replay value, and for many of the most knowledgeable figures in our little corner of the internet, it is
the greatest character creation screen ever made.
I still think one or two games have taken it to the next level, but there is no denying that when you take the mask off of best-in-class games, you have Fallout bones underneath. Colony Ship. Of the many games that use a Fallout-like character creation system, Colony Ship is one of the best ones out there. But make no mistake about it, this is not a cheap copy and paste effort. It draws inspiration from Fallout, but it uses its own system of attributes, skills, and feats to provide the player with an impressive array of options that lean heavily into the concept of opportunity cost to provide a wide variety of mutually exclusive approaches that make every choice you make matter. Moonring. So commenter Tonkars of Soul System said, "I've been playing Moonring for hours now, and I don't really like the character progression." Why? Well, for starters, there is no actual character progression. You can't really pick what kind of character you want to play. The number one idea at the core of what makes RPGs appealing. The way I see it, classes, races, or archetypes aren't mandatory for the RPG experience. Neither is the alternative of a free build-your-own character system like the one you have in Fallout. Games like Outward and Moonring don't let you pick anything from the get-go. You don't earn experience points in these games, and you don't even level. Because these games aren't about killing X number of enemies or successfully navigating X number of conversations, even if they do require you to do some of these things to progress. These games are about setting out into the dangers unknown to find your place in the world or to piece together the world's mysteries. And it's this journey of discovery what ultimately results in progression and growth. In Moonring, this is treated in a unique way that is both free from the genre's typical safe tropes and superbly fulfilling. War Tales. War Tales allows you to choose a starting template to get your role-playing juices flowing. It allows you to customize each individual party member, including your ponies, and from then on out, it uses a traditional class-based leveling system that allows you to level up attributes, and that even introduces career plans. Each character also has a profession that is crucial to your party's survival. But it also provides a party-based progression system that allows you to take your party down paths that go from the mercenary band of fighters for hire to the independent Indiana Jones-inspired Tomb Raiders. This system brought a smile to my face, and it turned out to be one of the most fulfilling experiences in 2023. And the winner is... Fallout than Fallout 2.
Still got it. Fuck yeah.
Gameplay. This is what it's ultimately all about. The better question is, do we favor the most consistently fun experience all throughout the game's running time? Do we throw our lot with a game that takes us on a tour de force journey that covers all the must-haves of our favorite genre? Or do we reward the game that took the time to pave countless different potential avenues of progress to provide the richest player-centered experience? Well, let's find out. The nominees in the gameplay category are Deus Ex, one huge playground for you to use however you wish, impressive in its design and massive in scope. One can't help but stand in awe at how ahead of its time this title was 23 years ago. Moonring, the most pleasant surprise of the year by far. Moonring brings back the Ultima-like brand of RPG experience, but it makes it feel brand new and fresh. This free-to-play title turned back the wheels of time in the best possible way for me, and one can only hope there's more to come from this fantastic developer. Fallout. Fallout drags you into a broken world, a post-nuclear apocalypse that has brought out the best and worst of the portion of humanity who survived it. You navigate this world much like you do your own, trying to solve your problems to the best of your abilities, while the game reminds you that you are part of a much larger world that has its own problems. Problems that you can't ignore. You are going to have to fight, you are going to have to talk others into doing what you think is best, you are going to have to sneak about, and sometimes that means that you are going to have to dance with the ugliest chick in the party, and all of that amounts to the proper RPG experience. Fallout 2. More of the same is always great when the same is awesome. In some respects, Fallout 2 is even better of the same. The second entry in the series is much more ambitious than its predecessor in many ways. New mechanics, greater stakes, a much more ominous prospect should you fail. For some, this sequel didn't tick all the boxes of the OG experience, but others think it's the pinnacle of the IP. In any case, it's still a timeless masterpiece and a strong contender in the gameplay category. Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 represents the pinnacle of player agency. This is where the RPG genre currently sits as far as gameplay goes. Where else can a party member who is not engaged in combat grab a random tiefling bystander and toss it against an enemy the rest of your party is fighting elsewhere in the city? Where else can you leave a barrel of powder next to a barbecue and have someone else in your party throw a bomb at it to cause absolute mayhem and then act like you had nothing to do with it? Where else are you going to stack up crates, climb to the top of them, and then turn into an owl bear to body slam a boss to one-shot him into oblivion? Nowhere. That's where you're gonna find it. Failed to prevent this chick from getting knocked out in a fight and the game takes a huge turn. Save these guys from their assailants and the game opens up a huge path with locations, quests, and NPCs. Take this or that guy here or there and witness completely different conversations and outcomes. Baldur's Gate 3 didn't live up to all my expectations, and it even was a massive disappointment in some respects. But when it comes to the one thing I care about the most in RPGs, it pulverized everything that I have seen so far in the genre. Hades. Of all the games that I've played and covered here on the channel, Hades is, without a shadow of a doubt, the only one I would totally recommend without reservations to anyone who watches the channel. I just can't see anyone not enjoying this title. The fun factor is off the charts with this one. It's challenging but fulfilling. It has short, mid, and long-term objectives to keep you thoroughly invested all the way through. It makes the most out of its roguelike element, including the ones you don't usually like, and it has a solid and heartwarming story on top of it all. This is one of those have-to-play-before-you-die titles. Yes, this is the one title you should make an exception about if you have the policy of, I don't play roguelikes. And it certainly is one of the games that I had the most fun with this year. Monster Train. When it comes to the old and the new, I tend to think a little bit more highly of genre-defining games than of games that try to replicate the OG experience, even if they take the experience to the next level. Every Diablo 2 has a Grim Dawn, and every Baldur's Gate 2 has a Pillars of Eternity. And I am definitely not against that. But every once in a while, in rides a game that says,
Hold up, wait a minute.
The fact that this game set the standards for the genre doesn't mean that we have to copycat its mechanics to the T. How about we do something different? Thus spoke Shadow's Awakening staring in the eyes of Diablo 2, and Monster Train as it set itself apart from Slay the Spire. Fast forward to today, and Monster Train is as highly regarded as Slay the Spire as one of the top 2 games in the ballpark, and with good reason. This game is non-stop fun, it has fantastic meta progression, and a fulfilling long-term challenge. I am a fan. Colony Ship, a true RPG for true RPG fans. Colony Ship is the real deal. It stands as proof that if you want to engage in the classic RPG experience, you are going to have to come down to the indie underworld. Iron Tower is a top-tier name in the genre for me, and with Colony Ship, it outdid itself in most respects. Colony Ship offers a wide array of viable builds that effectively translate into different playstyles that also make the game unfold in different and unique ways. Again, if you're an RPG fan, this is the real deal, guys. Death Roads. If Monster Train is unique, Death Roads is absolutely bananas. If you're one of those people who can't get over not being able to build your deck however you wish in card battlers, Death Roads is for you. If you're more about the nitty-gritty combat encounter itself than about long-winded deck building, Death Roads is for you. If you are okay with one-night stand encounters with hot chicks who are batshit crazy but won't want anything to do with you the next day, Death Roads is for you. Because you will have fun, but it will be gone. And the winner is... Death Roads. Nah, the winner is... Baldur's Gate 3. Story and lore.
I love stories far too much to keep them to myself.
We all do with this little corner of ours. So much so, in fact, that if we don't get a decent one, we cook one of our own in our brains. But these are the games that did a far better job than any of us could have given the chance. These are the nominees for story and lore. Colony Ship. Just when I was about to lose faith in storytelling and RPGs, in rides Colony Ship, a deceitfully complex story that explores the prospect of a not-so-fictitious version of humanity that has been stripped of its past, is hopeless on the future, and has been gradually reduced to day-to-day concerns, the trap of the time being. But make no mistake about it, this is no pretentious, self-indulgent Starbucks latte-infused emo narrative. This is a nitty-gritty world filled with cynical, down-to-earth people who try to make the best they can with what they've got, and who also don't expect the rest of the world to dance around their problems and woes. This was the best story, hands down, bar none, to come out in the year 2023. Deus Ex. The story in Deus Ex was awesome in the year 2000, but in the year 2023, it's absolutely mind-blowing. A virus that was created in a lab? Where have I heard this before? By the same people who created the cure? As a part of an obscure world domination agenda that involves international health organizations, big pharma, and government agencies? Where have I heard this before indeed? Obscure parties colluding to create advanced AIs with nefarious purposes? Where have I heard this before? Deus Ex is a conspiracy theory wet dream, but playing it in the year 2023 is going to make you really doubtful about some of the stuff that's going on today. And that just validates the genius of it all 23 years later. Fallout. As it happens with Deus Ex, history has validated Fallout's brilliancy on the story department. Grab the Fallout Bible today, and you'll see that many of the events listed there follow a suspiciously familiar pattern. Fallout's story was conceived by competent writers, and those tend to have a keen eye for real human dynamics and universal values. Take for example Fallout's world. A post-apocalyptic scenario is likely to bring out the best and worst of everyone. When the future is uncertain, you focus on surviving, and most people understand that you don't do that all by yourself. In a post-apocalyptic scenario, the emergence of authoritarian factions with totalitarian aspirations is very likely. We've seen it happen in our real world many times. Also, as cartoonish and on the nose as they may seem from time to time, the people behind the various factions in Fallout make all the sense in the world, even the most evil ones. At the very core, the people behind these factions aren't all that evil. All they want is the disastrous scenario not to repeat itself, and they think the only way to achieve this is to remove all the bad actors everywhere. and in Fallout, these concepts are coded as subtext in the story of a man or a woman who sets out to save his or her people and has no choice but to become involved in the grand scheme of things. Fallout 2. Fallout 2 builds upon the foundations of the original game. It paints a more fleshed out picture of what the post-apocalyptic world is like. It looks deeper into its people, and it takes the intrigue a couple of steps further. Moonring. Well, color me impressed. This game does so much with so little in every respect, and the story is no exception. The mystery aspect of the game is amazing, and it kept me invested all the way through. It's simple and unpretentious, but it also conveys interesting notions about individual empowerment and the corrupt forces that seek to hijack it. As with everything in Moonring, the wow factor of the story lies in the how they did it, rather than on what they did. Inscription. Speaking of the how they did it, holy shit. I didn't see this coming. This is David Lynch filmmaking combined with a theater play in which the actors come out from everywhere around you in the theater. Inscription's fourth dimensional narrative is batshit crazy and at the same time solid as a brick. As a card battler, Inscription is aggressively mediocre, but I have been playing games for almost 4 decades and I had never seen a story told the way this one is told, ever. So get it and play it. All the way to the end, you will not be disappointed. Vagarus, the Riven Realms. Vagarus pretty much wipes the floor with every other game in its ballpark. Its lore is vast, deep, rich, and most importantly, unique. It's refreshing to play through a story that doesn't stick like glue to the tried and true formulas of medieval fantasy, space sci-fi, or post-apocalyptic lore. This is a game that drew me in such a way that it almost made me wish it was a choose-your-own-adventure game or even a book. And the winner is... Inscription. Companions Lorewise. When it comes to RPGs, it's all about the journey, and the people who tag along for the ride have the potential to make this journey matter. They are in it to make a difference, just like you are, but they also make you want to make a better place for their sake. This is the one category in which this year wasn't particularly impressive, but I do have a few nominees for you. Baldur's Gate 3. Some of these guys and gals slapped me out of my immersion hard from time to time. Sometimes they came off as the video game avatars of modern-day 20-year-olds. Sometimes they felt excessively self-absorbed, and I hated that they all wanted a piece of me for some reason. Even characters whose romantic interest in my character seemed to be in direct contradiction with their lore. But some of my favorite characters were back, and in Minsk's case, I felt like Larian took a break from their free interpretation of the IP's lore to bring back the gentle giant and his space hamster. They nailed his character model, they kept many of his original classic lines, and even threw in some that were 100% consistent with the character. I loved it. Some of these guys and gals also have some of the beefiest and most impressive companion quests I've ever seen, and in some cases, these quests are properly intertwined with your main mission. And this is one of the things I liked the most about Baldur's Gate 2. They also have fantastic voice acting and thousands of dialogue lines. They might have not always hit the mark, but Larian definitely deserves A+ for effort. Colony Ship. Your companions in Colony Ship feel like a product of their time and background. They are mature, grounded, and they provide interesting perspectives about several topics. They had distinct personalities, and they were strongly opinionated about many topics. These guys and gals were so good that I wanted more of them, and rumor has it that we are going to get just that in upcoming updates. Fallout 2. Fallout games don't hit the mark for me in the companion department. But then again, I don't think any post-apocalyptic themed RPGs do. I will say this though, as underwhelming as it is, Fallout 2 might just be the best of them. Marcus has quite a story to tell about the time he tangled with a Brotherhood Knight, and he has an interesting take on the Master's plan and on what the world became when he was defeated. Vic has a beefy and colorful story that ties into the main plot. And Marin is an asshole who's full of himself, but he's also a window into how crime families operate, and then you have others like Skynet, Lenny, and your pain-in-the-ass wife Miria. They get the job done as a whole, and add to the immersion aspect of the game. even if they aren't all that great. Valkyrs, the Riven Realms. These guys and gals have a lot to say, and most of it is useful. I like how grounded and believable these guys and gals can feel, to the point that you might end up second-guessing those you do not fully trust, being rude to those who are annoying, and just straight out avoiding those who treat you with disdain. These types of companions are rare, unique even in the realm of sandbox RPGs, and I am quite impressed with them. And the winner is... Valkyrs, the Riven Realms. Companions gameplay-wise. This is all about how useful these guys, gals, monsters, and things are when it comes to the game's objectives. And this year was packed full with fascinating party synergies of all sorts and companions who got you through the hairiest non-combat situations. And here are the nominees. War Tales. This game nails the feeling of a company of mercenaries trying to rise to fame while not dying in the process. I'm playing this game like crazy these days, and I find quite impressive that every party member feels crucial to the party's survival and success. Some cook, some mine, some are good at stealing and lockpicking, and combat-wise, there are some pretty cool collaborative actions that you can take, provided you have the right skills and gears. This game is aces in my book. Star Traders Frontiers. This game has everything from ground combat to spaceship battles to survival elements to trading to social interactions with skill checks, and you have a full crew with varied characters that you can hone to make the most out of them. This game has the ability to bring out the little Jean-Luc Picard or Kirk that lives in you, making you feel like a true leader in charge of a party that boldly goes where no man has gone before. Dark Envoy. Combat is the only noteworthy aspect of this game. As far as its gameplay mix goes, that is. Similarly, combat encounters are the only thing to which your companions bring anything noteworthy, but the game absolutely nails skill synergies and cross-class combat synergies. The feeling that you are in command of a party of fighters who play to each other's strengths is second to none. So much so, in fact, that I would call this game a mandatory chapter for those interested in real-time with pause combat with fulfilling party synergies. Colony Ship. Your companions in Colony Ship feel like a cohesive group of people who play to their strengths. Unlike Dark Envoy, there aren't any elaborate combos that you can cook up during combat encounters, but these guys and gals can be the key to unlocking some of the ship's best kept secrets and successfully tackling its most difficult obstacles if you play your cards right with your companion's specialties. I think I did, and that's why Faith, Jed, and Adam took the wheel successfully from time to time to get my party through the various different challenges the game had to offer. And in my book, this is the proper CRPG experience from the companion standpoint. Valkyrs, the Riven Realms. These guys and gals have all sorts of combat, social, and party management talents, and it's especially interesting that at some point you are going to have to choose not just each character's talent, but the approach that you want each of them to have in the game. Impressive stuff indeed. Wildermyth. While you have a limited number of classes and archetypes in Wildermyth, the deeper you go into each of the game's stories, the more important it becomes to recruit and customize new party members with a long-term plan in mind. Sometimes you need to divide your party into smaller groups to keep up with the game's challenges. Sometimes you need to send some of them on errands, and there are various non-combat disciplines that you don't want to neglect, but you also don't want to spread your talents too thinly. Also, your companions get old and retire, some die, some may change so much over the course of the game that they may end up playing a different role in combat. This is the single best thing about this game, and for this alone, I think it's well worth the price of the admission. And the winner is... Colony Ship. Secondary mechanics and user experience. Secondary mechanics are those additional things that you do when you're not engaging in any of the game's core mechanics. Some games have trading, others have crafting, others have stronghold management. Some of them have all of the above. To me, it's all about how these mechanics serve to elevate the game's main thing. As for user experience, this has to do with how easy and intuitive it is for you to do what you want to do. Do you have all the features you need? Are things easy to figure out? Or do they have unnecessary long learning curves? Well, these are the games that I think did the best job this year. Death Roads. Attention cart battler developers everywhere. Play this game, look at the garage mechanic, and find a goddamn way to implement this shit in your game. Sincerely, a cart battler enthusiast. Hades. Unlockable weapons, unlockable talents, weapon enhancements, trade mechanics, random NPCs with random ad hoc mechanics, you name it. And all of it is fun and useful, just the way it should be. War Tales. Nailing the feeling of adventure in an RPG isn't easy, and when it comes to a sandbox RPG that tries to deliver the experience of a group of mercenaries traveling the world, making a living and trying not to die, this involves a lot of moving parts, and I think War Tales handles this masterfully. See, in most RPGs, there's always this one thing I just don't care about. This thing that I don't do because I don't feel like I need to, and or because it's But that's not the case with War Tales. This game is packed full with all types of moving parts, all of them are crucial to your long-term success, and the game is designed in a way that makes you look forward to all these things. Monster Train. This game features impeccable user experience, and the concept of a hellish resting area with various facilities for you to upgrade your train in different ways is sheer genius. There was not a single time I arrived to any of these stations that I didn't get a big sense of accomplishment and a tiny feeling of, hell yeah, let's see what you got for me. Also, the way in which the game conveys the information about your progress and the cards available is the best there is in the ballpark. King Arthur, A Knight's Tale. I was not a huge fan of this game, but it's actually quite impressive how the stronghold management features alone elevate the quality of everything else in this game exponentially. I would even say that this is a stronghold management game disguised as a turn-based action RPG. Managing your stronghold competently in King Arthur: A Knight's Tale makes all the difference short, mid, and long term, and it becomes especially interesting in the highest difficulty level. It even makes the game, wow, worth playing? And the winner is War Tales. Sound effects and mix. This category is all about the audio cues that let you know what's going on, the feeling that you're actually there, but most importantly, it's about the oofs and the fuck yeah. And these are the nominees to sound effects and mix. Fallout. This game has been around for 26 years, but I only have two things to say to you about it. Oof and fuck yeah. Baldur's Gate 3. The monumental amount of work they threw into this one is just too damn high. This is a behemoth of a game in most respects, and sound mix is no exception. I find the verticality of the sound to be especially impressive. Walking about the city of Baldur's Gate and listening to conversations, water streams, footsteps all at the same time without it ever becoming muddy or sounding odd is worth the price of the admission all by itself, and I can't speak highly enough of it. Death Roads. The sound design in Death Roads may not be as complex as the one in some of the other games on this list, but god damn it, these sounds are just so badass.
He instantly ejaculated. He instantly ejaculated. He ejaculated into his pants.
Blasting all of your pursuers with a single swing of your wrecking ball, or sending that pesky motorbiker to his grave with an exploding bolt, or the sound of your enemy crashing onto the road's defenses as the highway narrows from 2 lanes down to 1, this became a Pavlovian experience. I heard these sounds, I said fuck yeah. Hades. This game is a maelstrom of badassery, and the sound design plays its part beautifully. And not only by being badass, but also in regards to the user experience. Getting the timing of those sound cues right and making each of them come across as clearly distinguishable in a game as busy as this one, that must have not been easy, and I think Supergiant Games nailed it. And the winner is Death Roads. Music. The unsung hero of the story, quite literally sometimes. Some soundtracks nail the vibe and dramatic intention of the game's various passages. Some work as standalone albums that you can mix into your exercise routine playlist, and some others are masterpieces in their own right. These are the nominees for this year's best music: Fallout and Fallout 2. This game follows my rule of thumb for soundtracks in a video game. The music in Fallout is so theme consistent and immersive that at times it even sounds like it's coming out from the character's surroundings. Play this game for more than a 2-hour session and you're going to go to bed with this one, believe me. Hades. Hades has one of the strongest personalities I've ever seen in a video game. It's based on Greek mythology, but at the same time it goes by the rule of cool, and it doesn't ever take itself too seriously. Medusa is a cleaning lady in Hades' palace. Dionysius is a hippie drunkard who's fond of parties and even pranks. And Cerberus is a giant 3-headed puppy that likes sleeping and belly rubs. You have things like Eurydice resenting Orpheus for condemning both to hell, which is an actual passage in Greek mythology, and this means that the game takes its Greek mythology roots beyond surface level inspiration, but it is unpretentious and it has no aspiration to deliver an ironclad representation of any Greek myth. And it's so unequivocal about this that I don't see even the dumbest history purists coming out and saying, actually. And this is not an easy thing to achieve because you always have that one guy. And the game's soundtrack is just another example of this. The music in this game follows the rule of cool too, and it was so cool that I was looking forward to some of the boss battles just because of the soundtrack. And that should tell you all you need to know. Baldur's Gate 3. I have to admit that there were times in which I said, if I hear another version of this ba 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 bum ba ba bum again, I am going to murder someone. I also think that Borislavov's music is a little bit overproduced and on the nose, like many other art-related things in this game. A commenter said that he loved the part of the story in which you meet and free Night Song, especially because of the music that goes with it. Well, I hated that part to no end, and the music felt like it was all hell-bent on making the passage come off as epic, when this epicness was really undeserved because it hadn't been properly built up narratively and this character was shit. That aside, I think the soundtrack was very good, but not impressive. Then why is Baldur's Gate 3 even nominated, you wonder? Well, friends, that very specific musical number that you get during your final confrontation with Raphael in his House of Hope is hands down the best track of the year. It embodies the dramatic demeanor and pompous nature of the character, it's fun, it's quirky, and it has a Broadway musical vibe to it a la Phantom of the Opera that feels as though the composer had said, fuck it, why not, I'm feeling it. And as a result, I felt it too. When Baldur's Gate 3 fires on all cylinders, it can be one of the best games ever. And with this particular track, it fires on all cylinders. Dark Envoy. This is going to sound mean, but man, this game doesn't deserve this soundtrack. This is the best soundtrack of the year 2023, bar none, in my opinion. This soundtrack is so good that it made me say, oh, so this is what the game wanted to convey with this passage. The track for the final confrontation of the game is masterful. As a standalone track, it's second only, in my opinion, of course, to Raphael's House of Hope's combat encounter track. It's a classical sounding piece with a digital sequence arrangement that's very low on the mix, as though it's hinting at the true nature of the bad guy, and I think this is just freaking masterful. Ace stuff, in my opinion. Lost Eidolons. Hey, this game is hands down the worst game I've played this year. Not even a competition, but what can I say? The music is pretty freaking impressive, and I continue to listen to it long after I quit the game. That should tell you all you need to know. And the winner is... Hades. Voice acting. Not even a competition. This year's winner is Deus Ex.
You with the police?
Yes, I'm with the police of voice acting, and you are under arrest. This is a short list this year. There have been some amazing individual characters here and there, but only 2 games deserve a nomination as a whole this year. Of the games that I played and reviewed, these are the nominees. Baldur's Gate 3. I made it no secret that I was thoroughly impressed with Samantha Bird's voice acting as Karlach. And like I said, Matt Mercer could play Barbie and he'd still be the right person for the job. And I know some of you old-timers don't agree, but I'm an old-timer too, and I think he completely nails it as Minsk, just like he nails every other character he plays. Some of the NPCs like Raphael or Auntie Ethel are also phenomenal. Baldur's Gate 3 has hundreds of NPCs, and all of them are fully voiced, even the animals. This was no small undertaking, and Larian should be given all the credit in the world for this. Hades. Outside Orpheus' voice, which I detested to no end, everyone in this game kills it. The standouts are Dionysius, Deusa, and Hades, but Zagreus himself, Zeus, Poseidon, Aphrodite, and Artemis are also fantastic. The voice direction here deserves a lot of credit, from the happy-go-lucky god of wine to the mentally challenged Eringi Tisiphone. They're all on flick. This was a tough one, but the winner is... Baldur's Gate 3. Graphics. We've come a long way since video games have been around. We've reached unprecedented levels of realism, and art has truly found a way to make a statement through technology. With this category, I want to pay tribute to those who pushed the envelope on the grounds of technical merit, but also to those with the strongest artistic visions. And in my eyes, of the games that I played this year, these are the ones with the best graphics. Mao Kenshi. A fantastic looking game that punches well above its indie game weight. Mao Kenshi has colorful, detailed locations, amazing character art, and phenomenal UI design. But the most impressive thing about the graphic package in this game is the animations. Look at this attack animation with a fancy sword movement in the end, or this tentacle animation. And every character has its own set of animated sprites. Visual effects are also very impressive in this one. Baldur's Gate 3. This is the prettiest, most detailed RPG I have ever played. Locations are all fantastic, and they're as varied as you'd expect in a AAA title, and they all feel adequately abandoned, or creepy, or vibrant and lived in, depending on the case. Character models are amazing, and there's an impressive number of detailed and theme-consistent armor and weapon pieces. Animations are also next level. They covered everything from combat animations to climbing to jumping, and each race has its own set of sprites as well. Visual effects are eye-popping, and cinematics, well, let's just say I've never seen anything quite like this in a D&D game. Hades. Hades' artistic vision is exceptional, and it brings to life the game's bold, unique personality. I particularly like the game's character models with their many expressions, and the game's ending, like the true ending, let's just say they definitely saved the best for last. Animations are also on point. They make combat feel tight and weighty like no other title in the ballpark. And as highly regarded as this game is, I think its graphics might even be slightly underappreciated because they are so freaking awesome. Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. Tainted Grail features some of the creepiest locations and bosses I've seen in a long while. This game is an Arthurian dark fantasy game that's barking at the same tree as Skyrim. The dark fantasy vibe of Tainted Grail, though, makes the game feel ominous and dangerous. In a year where there's been so many games, Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon's location, and some of its bosses still come to mind as some of the most memorable of the year, and that earns it a solid nomination in the graphics category. Fallout and Fallout 2. A very strong artistic vision that nails the immersion aspect of the game, and absolutely amazing animations that put to shame even some of its modern day peers are Fallout's arguments to be amongst this year's nominees, even 26 years after its original release. And I bet my bottom dollar now that those who were there at the time are eagerly nodding right now. Because if you were a gamer back in the days when this came out, Fallout was the before and after for you too. And the winner is... Baldur's Gate 3. Performance and stability. This is like the pancreas. No one ever talks about it, but if it ever fails, you're gonna be fucked. This year we've not only had some of the best games we've gotten in years, but we also played some of the most stable titles. And these are the nominees for the category. Everspace 2, Monster Train, Hades, and the winner is... Everspace 2. Now on to one of our new categories. Game of the Year that actually came out this year. And the nominees are War Tales, Baldur's Gate 3, Moonring, Colony Ship, Death Throes. And the winner is...
The suspense is terrible.
Baldur's Gate 3. And finally, here's the big one. The old and the new pitted against each other. Here are the nominees for the Ye Olde Entertainment 2023 Game of the Year Award. Fallout, Fallout 2, Deus Ex, Hades, Monster Train, Baldur's Gate 3. And the winner is...
The suspense is terrible.
If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, thank you for watching all the way up until now. If you like what you are seeing on this channel, please consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell to avoid the usual YouTube shenanigans. Come check us out on Discord if you don't mind all the boomer talk that goes on there. I personally love it and wouldn't change it for anything. Share the video if you thought it was cool, but most importantly, never stop gaming, but don't let gaming get in the way of your hopes and dreams. Bye everyone.
Is waiting for you will prove untrue, then what will you do? Maybe you'll sit and decide